Hello.
All right, let's just do it again.
3, 2, 1.
Hi guys, this is Marilyn,
I'm Sean.
and welcome to our first episode of Shrink Wrap, where we share our insights and process from our daily life of creativity and design. So,
right.
Sean,
Yeah.
what do we have here today?
So today we're going to be sharing our insights and experience in regards to designing this beauty Tanglin Gin limited batch series Cranberry Gin. So we'll be sharing what the brief was, how we went about designing it, and what the final outcome was. So let's get started, shall we? Marilyn, what was the brief?
So, Tanglin Gin is Singapore's first gin distillery.
First.
And at the end of the year, they wanted to launch a cranberry gin, especially for 3 festive occasions. And that is Thanksgiving,
1,
Christmas,
2,
and Chinese New Year.
3.
That's right.
So basically a gin that can be sold throughout the 3 festive occasions and appeal to different cultures that celebrate those festive occasions. Yeah. So I think let's chat about what the main considerations were for the brief. The budget and the time. Don't come up with some wild, crazy idea that's gonna chew the budget and take a really long time to implement and to go through rounds and rounds of amendments. You have to really consider, how much time you have to get the design done. Sometimes you just got to limit it and do the best you can within the designated time. Another consideration: who is the target audience? Don't just design something that you think looks amazing and that you love. You really have to think about who you're going to be selling to. In this case, there's a lot of people. 3 festive occasions, Singapore being really multicultural. So, we need to think about the different cultures. Don't be offensive. Appeal to male and female. Age group, obviously from 18 upwards.
And it has to look premium as well.
And yeah, definitely needs to look premium, especially because gifting for these festive occasions. And I guess the main consideration is it has to look festive. If you're selling a festive gin, it should look happy and festive, I guess.
There needs to be a sense of celebration.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think another really important consideration was it is a limited batch series, meaning that, it's not going to be sold all the time. But you have to think about the core brand. So the core packaging has a design to itself. So how can you bring some of those design equities of the core brand into the limited batch series? Because the reason why I say this is if a person's never seen the brand before, but they see this, the next time they see the core brand, there will be some recognition. Oh, I remember seeing that logo. Oh, I remember seeing that color. So Marilyn, what was the design?
One of our concepts is based on the idea of peranakan, which is a marriage between the Malay and the Chinese culture. One aspect that really stands out from that culture is their beautiful ornate tiles that decorate houses. And we took that as a key inspiration for this design here.
Yeah, because those tiles itself, traditionally, the design that goes into those tiles is really decorative, right? And they have a lot of layers and a lot of stories within the tiles. So we thought it was some solid inspiration there for this particular concept. There was a lot of things that we needed to communicate in this design: the festive occasions, the flavor cues within the gin, and also how do we, stand strong as, a Singapore, homegrown distillery as well. So we, taking inspiration from the tiles, we want to, let's do a concept that's really beautiful and pretty on the front, really clean and tells a lot of stories within.
So if you take a closer look, you can see the orchid at the heart of the pattern, which branches out into the cranberries. And surrounding these elements are expressions for celebration. And this goes well hand in hand with all three festive occasions without cornering each occasion as an expression of its own.
So let's talk about the color.
Well, the red, no-brainer, right? Cranberry gin.
Cranberries are red, right?
Yeah.
Christmas, red.
Yes.
Chinese New Year,
Yes.
super red.
And Thanksgiving.
So yeah, as
with
you said,
the cranberries.
no-brainer, that is red. And I think the black and the red, contrast really well.
So we came up with different designs previously. We did one version whereby we touched on the really vibrant expression of the Peranakan tiles. We also did one where we created a gradient effect. That's super trendy then. And then we also did a couple of other concept expressions, but in the end, the client chose this design.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point that when you're doing concepts, don't just go all out into kind of one area. Evolution to revolution. So you kind of do steps of, this is closer to the core brand. It has this one pushes it, a little bit further, and then pushes it way out into kind of like limited editions. So consider, those steps, and that will help you, to do better designs for your client, without just scaring them with something that's so far away or not pushing it further enough.
The printing. Right. So with that in mind, we wanted to allude back to the core brand product. How does that look? So Tanglin normally sits on a matte substrate. So can we carry that through? And for this purpose, we chose a substrate that feels a little bit more different because it's special bottle. And that in turn is juxtaposed nicely with the red key line that we chose to express the design itself.
We wanted it to be shiny. Again, it's gifting, festive, limited edition batch. So it needed to have that kind of premium touch and visual cues to it, which I think it does. You can see it shining right now, hopefully. So thoughts on the final outcome? What do you love about it?
What I love about it is that from afar it looks really understated, but when you peer closer, you start to appreciate the little details that peek through when light hits the design and the patterns. I think it's a great conversation piece when you bring this for special occasions and gatherings with your family and friends, because it has a mysterious vibe to it that kind of invites you in.
What I like about it is just the kind of overall vibe that it gives. I think it does the storytelling with the three festive occasions, but then overall it looks pretty and it has that cultural representation, with the kind of Peranakan and Chinese kind of influence. You can tell it's Singapore kind of homegrown in a way. So I think that does a nice job. Also the fact that we really focused on the illustration. So we're really lucky to be able to use such a big landscape for the illustration without having to we didn't want to scream out the variant name because you already see it's red, so it alludes to that flavor.
Yeah. And on the side where you have the mandatory, we can do a little sneaky here with the cranberry hanging as an ornament. So I think again, just playing up overall the design integration. We would love to have the pattern go all across, but unfortunately the mandatories get in the way, right?
Of course you need the mandatories. But then think about like on shelf or even visually like selling online. Like you don't show it like this or like this. Really, consider how it looks on shelf and how it will look online as well. And that's generally the front face of the bottle. Any tips and tricks for our viewers that are watching?
Tips and tricks.
In regards to packaging design, especially for this particular job.
We mentioned about budget and timeline. So those factors need to be considered hand in hand. Don't go crazy with design that you cannot fulfill within the timeline allocated. Be realistic, but how can you make it punchy. So how can you allude to the brief, in this case, the ingredient story, as well as the idea of the occasions? How is it represented in each element?
Yeah, my tips would be when designing, coming up with the concept, think about the printing, think about the final outcome, because that will just really help you see the whole packaging through and better sell it into the client as well about, you know, the concept. Yeah, and most of all, have fun when designing.
That's right. I think that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Right?
So we've wrapped up all the insights from this particular job. If you have any questions, please just put them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more shrink wrap episodes that will cover our insights about our, you know, creativity in regards to branding, packaging, and other marketing and design stuff. Until then,
stay tuned and see you guys again.
Shrink wrap.